Childhood identity is fluid, not final. Erica Komisar, a respected psychoanalyst and parenting expert, urges us to rethink how we respond to gender confusion in children. According to her, it's not a medical emergency, it's a normal phase in emotional development. Children between the ages of 2 and 7 are still forming their sense of self. They explore roles, behaviors, and identities through imagination, play, and mimicry. A boy pretending to be a girl or a girl saying she wants to be a boy is not necessarily expressing a fixed identity, it's part of cognitive and emotional growth. Komisar warns that treating this fluid stage as permanent, or worse, introducing medical interventions like hormone blockers or social transitioning too early can be more harmful than helpful. Instead of rushing in with labels or diagnoses, she advocates for patience, listening, and nurturing parental presence. Part 2. The Rise of Medical Responses. A Cultural Shift. 140 words. Komisar observes a concerning trend: the medicalization of childhood identity exploration. Where earlier generations might have dismissed a boy wearing a dress as just a phase, today's institutions may suggest deeper intervention. Schools, clinics, and media narratives increasingly encourage children to define themselves early and rigidly, often pushing medical paths. But Komisar asks, why are we diagnosing curiosity? Why are emotional struggles being interpreted through a strict identity lens, especially when children's brains are still developing and constantly changing? She emphasizes that a child questioning their gender is not broken, they're becoming. Labeling and medicating them too soon could freeze that becoming process. What they truly need, she says, is emotional support, not pharmaceutical solutions. Part 3. The Role of Parenting. Attachment over affirmation. 130 words. For Komisar, parenting is central to navigating gender confusion in childhood. Rather than affirming every feeling as fact, she advises parents to provide secure attachment, a sense of safety, love, and emotional openness. This doesn't mean rejecting or ignoring a child's feelings. It means guiding without rushing, listening without labeling. She points out that many children who express gender confusion are grappling with deeper emotional struggles, loneliness, anxiety, trauma, or disconnection. In these cases, affirmation without exploration can lead to misdiagnosis. What the child may need is not a new identity, but healing, bonding, and space to grow. Parents are not meant to be passive cheerleaders of every emotional shift. They are meant to be anchors. Part 4. Long-term effects of early transitions. One of Komisar's key concerns is the irreversible impact of early medical transitions. Puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries can leave lifelong consequences, physically, emotionally, and psychologically. She acknowledges that for some individuals, these treatments may ultimately align with their identity, but when applied prematurely, especially during early childhood or preteen years, they may prevent a child from reaching a more complete and authentic self-understanding. Studies show that a significant percentage of children experiencing gender confusion eventually reconcile with their biological sex by adulthood. Komisar argues that if we rush into medical solutions too early, we may be treating a temporary struggle with a permanent answer, and that's not just unwise, it's dangerous. Part 5. A Call for Nuance. In a polarized debate in today's culture, discussions around gender identity are often hyperpolarized. You're either affirming or denying, woke or phobic. But Erica Komisar's approach cuts through the noise. She doesn't call for cruelty, denial, or bigotry. She calls for thoughtfulness, developmental psychology, and compassionate realism. We must make room for the idea that a child's identity may be in progress, and that's okay. Komisar's message is not anti-trans, it's pro-child. Grounded in decades of psychoanalytic and developmental research, she encourages society to step back and stop using children as symbols for adult debates. Every child is unique. They deserve time, freedom, and emotional safety, not rushed decisions based on fleeting feelings or political pressure. In this conversation, nuance isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Part 6. The Danger of Adult Projections on Children. Komisar argues that much of today's response to childhood gender confusion isn't about the child, it's about the adult's discomfort. Parents, teachers, and therapists may unknowingly project their own fears, ideologies, or desires onto children. She warns that in a culture obsessed with identity politics, adults may see a child's confusion as a problem to be solved or a statement to be made, rather than a normal developmental process. By prematurely affirming or labeling, we risk replacing a child's inner journey with an adult's agenda. This, Komisar insists, is deeply unfair. Childhood isn't the time to force clarity, it's the time to explore safely, surrounded by calm and unconditional support. Part 7. What children truly need. Structure, empathy and time. Erica Komisar emphasizes 3 vital things every gender-questioning child needs: structure, empathy and time. Structure provides safety, routines, boundaries and guidance. Give a child the stability to work through inner confusion. Empathy offers emotional connection. Instead of labeling or correcting, empathetic adults simply listen, mirror and reassure. You're loved no matter what you feel. And then there's time, something modern culture seems in a hurry to erase. Time allows the child to explore different roles, feelings and expressions without consequence or permanence. Komisar warns that fast-tracking gender decisions undermines a child's ability to naturally resolve confusion. A supportive, patient environment is often all it takes for children to settle into a healthy identity, one they arrive at on their own terms. Part 8. Resisting the cultural rush to certainty. In the current cultural moment, there's immense pressure to be certain about everything. But Komisar reminds us that childhood is inherently uncertain, filled with questions that shouldn't have immediate answers. When a young child expresses gender confusion, it's often met with urgent reactions: support them now or you're harming them. But what if waiting is the real act of love? Rushing to label a child, whether medically, socially or legally, imposes an identity before it's fully formed, and that may do more harm than good. Komisar argues that true care means resisting the urge to fix and instead choosing to walk alongside a child as they grow. She invites us to slow down, breathe, and remember most childhood confusion, including about gender, resolves when we create space, not when we add pressure. Part 9. The impact of social media and online influences. Erica Komisar points out that social media and online platforms are increasingly shaping how children understand themselves, especially regarding gender. In today's digital age, children are bombarded with gender fluidity narratives from influencers, YouTubers, and activists. While this can empower some, it also risks accelerating a child's search for answers in an environment that can be overwhelming and sometimes confusing. Komisar notes that children's minds are not equipped to sift through the complex layers of gender theory and influencer-led ideologies. When children encounter such narratives, they might feel compelled to conform to a trendy idea of gender rather than explore their identity organically. She calls for a return to authentic in-person interactions that prioritize self-exploration without the pressures of online validation. Children need room to breathe without being influenced by external forces telling them who they should be. Erica Komisar's perspective on childhood gender confusion urges us to take a careful, measured approach, one that honors the fluidity of childhood development. Gender confusion in children is often temporary and normal, a part of growing up and discovering who they are. Komisar urges parents, educators, and professionals not to rush into permanent decisions or medical interventions, but rather to create an environment of support and patience. Children are not yet capable of making life-altering decisions about their identities. Early transitions can have lasting emotional and psychological consequences, as they may not fully understand the gravity of the decision. Instead, children need emotional security, a space to explore different aspects of their identities, and the freedom to grow at their own pace. In today's world, where society often pushes for quick answers and absolute certainty, Komisar's voice is a necessary call for pause and reflection. It's a reminder that childhood is a time of exploration, and that exploration is best done with understanding, empathy, and time. By resisting the cultural rush to define children and instead supporting them through their journey, we are allowing them the chance to discover themselves authentically.